What's up, everybody? It's your boy True Wolf God. Welcome back to another one. Welcome back to another one. Hope you're having a good day, being safe, and all the other good stuff. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the sub button, and comment down below just to help the algorithm. And I will like to see your points of this video as well. So if you play the game or if you have uh any uh, knowledge of the game or anything, definitely put it down in the comments if I say something wrong or if you wanna go at any of my points. Definitely tell me something, and I would like to respond back to y'all. Other than that, don't forget to grab your snacks, grab your drinks, your beverages. Let's lock in. You got it. All right.
Stay there and cook. If you are a fan of the horror genre, there is no way you have not heard of the game Outlast. Released in 2013, Outlast became every gamer's worst nightmare. The grotesque imagery and the mysterious and disturbing lore were definitely something, but that is not what made Outlast the phenomenon that it is known as in the gaming community. It was the mechanics that made it impossible for the player to fight back against the several enemies they encounter throughout the gameplay. Can you imagine being chased by killers with only the ability to hide and run away? How terrifying is that? The sound design of these chase sequences, especially in Outlast 1 and 2,
Those people were so annoying. The arrows would not stop coming. You know, it's like they got me in the weirdest positions when I was playing the game. I have it on live stream and everything, so I should definitely cut those down and make a video as well. Just cut them to make them little short videos as well for anybody that wants to watch it. But they were very annoying when it came to actually catching me in those weird positions.
was just immaculate. The moment you hear those first few notes, you know you gotta start running as fast as possible. With the Outlast franchise expanding over the years, we decided that it is high time we looked at all the villains and ranked them. So join us as we count down the 10 most terrifying villains of the Outlast lore, with a little someone special at the end. So grab your camcorders, get to the nearest locker, and let's get started. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Eddie Gluskin. Once you see a smile like that, there's no way you would be able to forget it. Edward Eddie Gluskin, more commonly known as the Groom, is bound to terrify you. If that creepy smile and his loving nicknames for you are not enough, his actions will certainly be. Rampant in Outlast Whistleblower, Eddie is a man who is desperate for love. I mean, aren't we all? But Eddie just
This guy had me just traumatized. He tries to cut you, you know, tries to cut you down there, and it wasn't the best, you know, at all. Didn't appreciate that at all. It was traumatizing. Um, when I was playing the game, getting to this part was always like a hard thing for me because I was like, "Bruh, I really don't want to do this." Because not only that, what really messed with me the most is being wounded. Because when you're on this part right here, you're wounded, so you're limping the whole time, and you're trying to run away from this guy, and it's so frustrating because you're wounded. Like you're not able to go as fast, you're not escaping. If he sees you, if he sees you, you're not running away. So you have to find a way to get behind something or close a door and hide before he opens it or something like that. So you have to be smart with it because if he sees you and you have nothing in front of you, he's definitely catching you, and that's the thing that made him really unique in my eyes as well. Because most of the what you call them, the crazy individuals inside the asylum that's chasing you, um are not really like in the sense that you could just run. You could just run, right? But him, you can't run because you're wounded. So you're limping. So it's really hard to get away from him. You have to think differently when you're going against him.
Takes searching for love to a whole new level. Since a perfect partner does not exist, Eddie decided he would make his own perfect partner from scratch. He goes after Waylon, wielding his blade, hoping to turn our poor Waylon into his perfect blushing bride after some much-needed surgical mutilation. While not a lot is known about Gluskin, we can find some documents about him during the gameplay that detail his childhood, and let me tell you guys, it's not good. Eddie was sexually assaulted by his father and uncle when he was a young boy, which led him to suffering a
Ooh.
very severe psychotic break. Gluskin comes from a religious household, and his mother, who knew about the abuse, turned the other way. So, to cope with everything that was happening to him, Gluskin used to claim that he grew up in a Leave It to Beaver type of household. Before he was committed to the Mount Massive Asylum, Eddie was a provocative and misogynistic serial killer. He used to seek out women to date, hoping to make them his bride. But the moment the women showed their flaws, his perfect bride's outlook on that woman shattered, and he would murder them soon enough. When he was shown pictures of his crime, Eddie refused to believe that they were dead. He behaved in a similar fashion when he was shown pictures of the abuse he went through when he was a child. But this interview made it clear that despite wanting intimacy and erotic relationships, Eddie has grown uncomfortable with anything like that. After the Murkoff Corporation put him through the experiments, Eddie's mind was completely warped, and he started having delusions of marriage, women, and children. Eventually, the asylum riot began, and that's when Eddie started going after other male inmates to feed his delusions. He caught other variants and put them through vicious, botched sex changes, hoping the procedure would turn them into women and
Yeah, and it never works, and then he just keeps on trying. He keeps on trying. His story is very sad because I do want to say that too. His story is very sad, but to be honest with you, the pain he got me going through, I don't fuck with him, so he better. After he died, I was happy. I seen him, I was happy, bro. I was like, damn, you deserve that bit. Trying to cut my family jewels off of me is crazy activity, you know. So when I was able to get him tied up and he was chilling out with the fishes, you know, ain't gonna lie to you, I was singing a happy tune after that, you know. Yeah, I was scared the whole time though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Multiple times I was nearly about to pee my pants. Ain't gonna lie. But nah, he's terrifying. He's terrifying for sure.
make them his bride. There are two reasons why I believe Eddie is a really scary Outlast villain. For one, in his delusional headspace, he treats the player like a woman, which forces the player to realize the terror and horror of being pursued by a violent guy who just can't take no for an answer, something a lot of women go through every day all over the world. Another reason why Eddie is so scary
For
is the
real.
fact that he is a product of his past. If he had been given the right support and the right care when he needed it, he would have turned out differently. He would have healed. He would have become a better person. But the absence of these very needed things turned him into a monster who we can understand. And it is because we understand his plight that his behavior is so horrifying. Ah, if only Eddie met the book talk girlies. He would have had a wife or several of them in no time, given how tall, broad, charming, and handsome he is. But for now, since we are in the Outlast world, I'd say please run away when you meet the groom. The Twins. Outlast is truly a game that's the only one.
These people are so like annoying in a sense of like at one point they're chasing you down trying to kill you, and then another point they're over there nice to you and like not trying to kill you, and then they're trying to kill you again. You know, I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate the switch up. You know, and then they're naked, and then they're trying to, and then they over there saying, "Oh, I want to eat that part of you. Oh, I'm gonna eat that part of him." You know, I'm like, no, leave me alone, Bucko. Back off, type stuff. You know, but yeah, They're I don't know their story though. So he is about to tell us their story. I haven't heard their story yet, so this is new to me. So I can't wait. But other than that, I did want to say as well is these two were pretty unique as well in my sense because a duel a duel in a sense of they had their own parts, and like I guess it's not really that unique because like you get chased by multiple people, but it's different when it comes to them because like they're like actual like a duel. They have like banter between each other while they're searching for you and stuff like that. Um, that's why I think they're pretty cool as well. Um, but yeah, no, we'll never like to see them ever again. You know. But yeah.
One of its kind. I don't think any other game has had the gall to literally wave genitalia in your face like Outlast has, especially
So
back in
true, so
2013.
true,
But
so
here
true,
we
so
are with
true.
the twins. There is nothing more scary than being chased by two hulking, naked men as they casually discuss how they want to eat your liver and tongue. They show up in Outlast and Outlast 2, and for the most part, they are just
Wait, they show an Outlast 2? Do they really? See, I don't remember if they do show an Outlast 2. I don't remember if they do show up Outlast 2.
leisurely chasing around Miles and Waylon. They are extremely creepy, probably because of how casually they discuss their cannibalistic urges. But overall, when you first meet them, they don't strike you as the worst of the worst, you know? But that is where you guys are wrong, because the twins are extremely smart for variance. Unlike someone else, they don't chatter when they follow you around. Oh no, they sneak up on you without making a single sound. Not only that, but they also know how to check hiding spaces. So yeah, you aren't safe under the bed or in the closet. You just have to be smart and as quiet as possible when you are around the twins, all the while hoping to God you don't get noticed.
That's so true. That's so fucking true. But yeah, they're pretty good villains in a sense, you know. Their banter, how they talk and stuff like that, good. Um, they're scary. So yeah, I agree.
Now, not a lot is known about their past, but when you initially meet them in the first Outlast game, you can see that these two dudes may have gone through morphogenic engine therapy. They're extremely loyal to Father Martin, the leader of the cult of the Mount Massive Asylum. Despite Father Martin's words and their loyalty, they go after Miles, time and time again, hoping to eat his body parts after murdering him. They are surprisingly good trackers, and even though they give Miles a head start out of courtesy to the father, you can bet your bottom dollar that they are going to be up your ass in no time. However, eventually, when Miles reaches the chapel to witness Father Martin's ritual, the twins are surprisingly docile and do not harm him. So until you reach the chapel to witness Father Martin burning to a crisp, you should probably keep an eye out for the twins. Chris Walker. Outlast was such a major
Like I said, they be switching up. They really be switching up. Crazy activity, by the way. Um, I guess he didn't know that much about them either. So I was hoping to get some more about them. I was hoping to learn some more about them because like again, we don't really know anything about them. At least I didn't know anything about them. Um, I don't know if um, well, I guess he would have put it in the video if Outlast Trials or Outlast 2 would have had more information about them. I'm pretty sure he'll put it in here, you know. But yeah, that's all we really know about them. So now we're out here. Him, he a asshole for real. This guy, a asshole. You know, he rips you up pieces, rips your head off your body. Um, he over there, he calls you little pig and stuff like that. You know, he an asshole for real. You know, and then he doesn't stop chasing you, bro. He chases you all over the place. He doesn't stop, and I love it so much, bro. He's amazing. I fucking love this fucking person, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. W enemy, W villain, W cause like every time I see him, I'm scared. Like I love it. I love it. I love it a lot. Every time I see him, I'm scared. I'm over here hiding, trying to be like really quiet. And when he's chasing me, I'm like, oh shit! And I'm over here running and dashing because you can hear the chains on him. And like each time I hear that, that scares me even more. I'm like, shh, shh. Like the little chains that like shake when he moves. You can hear that, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying. Beautiful.
Hit amongst the fans because of its absolutely bonkers, completely out there villains. And the first villain, the big bad, if you will, who we see in the game is our big boy Chris Walker. This huge, hulking man with a sinister grin is the stuff of nightmares. Chris Walker is a force to be reckoned with, and every time players come across him, they are completely frozen in fear. And why wouldn't they? The first time we see Chris Walker is when Miles Upshur is in the control room and has to hide from him. Miles almost gets caught because Chris searches through the nearby locker, and the whole sequence is just too much. As you play through the game, Chris shows up more and more, and the more he shows up, the more predictable he becomes. Once players figure out that they can simply squeeze through a tiny opening and Chris won't be able to follow them through there, it is a harrowing moment of relief. I am sure a lot of players taunt
I ain't gonna lie to you. I taunted the out of it. I kept on going out, going back in, going out, and go back in. At one point, I got caught. So I learned my lesson. You know, don't push too much buttons. You know, you know. I played too much and I got burned. You know, because like he can grab you, like if you're close enough to the edge. If you're close enough to it, and while you're inside the little hole area, if you're close enough to the edge of it, he can definitely grab you out of it. And I found that out the hard way, and it wasn't nice. Yup, 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 yup. But yeah, it was fun. You know, it was fun when it lasted. You know, before I started screaming for my life. You know, but you know, hey, I fucking like he is scary by the way, just really scary. The way he looks, like he's really tall, and it's like wow, bro, it's insane how strong he is as well. What a good character.
haunted Chris when they figured it out, because I sure did. But then I had to eat my words when he managed to catch me and throw me down, calling me little pig. Miles's notes about Chris Walker are definitely a delight to read, but if you want to know about Chris in more detail, you have to check out the comics. In there, we learn that Chris was actually hired as a guard for Murkoff Corporation once he returned from military police work in Afghanistan. His stature and strength are absolutely inhumane, but he has a childlike mind. He was a surveillance guard in the Spindletop Psychotherapy Clinic, a Murkoff facility in Texas which specialized in treating veterans with PTSD. However, while in there, Chris was called Strong Fat, which is a diabolical nickname to give someone. The bullying and the questionable Murkoff therapy eventually wore on Chris, and his psyche broke. This led to him murdering 3 of his inmates by ripping them.
Yeah, like I said, bro, he a monster for crazy activity. Um, but really good character, really good character. But what I was gonna say too was, yeah, he was in the military and they traumatized this man, turned him who he is now, you know, and he was working for them. That's the crazy thing about it. Uh, well, he was sort of working for them, like sort of, but yeah, it didn't end up well. And now he's one of the most strongest characters in that facility, under than the writer, the wall rider.
Apart. When the Murkoff Corporation got wind of these murders, they sent 2 investigators. They reviewed the surveillance footage and noticed Walker restraining one of the violent inmates in one of the tapes. They found the 4th dead body in the therapy room and figured there would be tapes to identify the culprit. But when they went to the security room, the monitors were smashed. Since the victim and Chris were the only 2 people who could go into this room, the investigators put the pieces together. They went to Chris's home room and found 4 cooler boxes. 3 of them had the heads of the 3 bodies that were reported to them. Since the 4th one was empty, the investigators waited for Chris, as he must be coming home soon. They also found that Walker had a stuffed animal, a little pig. Soon after, Walker came home, and despite the investigators' warnings, he did not stand down and attacked. The investigators shot at him, and the bullets scarred his face horribly. One of the investigators was killed, while the other managed to knock Walker out with his car. Since Walker was a Murkoff employee, the murders were blamed on someone else, and Walker was sent off to a secret facility owned by the corporation to be tested on. 2 months later, one of the investigators from his case came to Mount Massive and saw Walker there, all humanity stripped away, turned into the beast that we see rampaging in the first Outlast game. Despite how scary Chris Walker is, I absolutely love the way Miles talks about his death in his note. Chris was ripped apart by the Walrider, rather brutally, if I might add that. To that, Miles said, and I quote, "You've escaped one hell, Chris Walker. God help me, but I somehow hope you didn't find another. Even though Chris Walker has given me nightmares, I do like that. In the end, he has given some dignity after death." Shout out.
I 1000% agree. That was really good as well. I agree to that one. Especially, like I said, he's one of the strongest, but the Wall Rider is just a different breed of strength. He blended him into like a paste. It was insane to watch happen. I ain't gonna lie to you. He was a brutally beaten down and thrown around like a little toy, like he does to us. Like what happened to him, he been doing to us the whole game. So it was not really anything to feel bad about. But that note he did right for him was beautiful. That was some good writing right there. Some good writing, right? That's all I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say.
Shout out to my boy Miles for being such an OG. Richard Traeger. Outlast is full of iconic moments, but the one moment that changed the whole gameplay for
I gotta talk about this before he goes into it. Traeger. Yo, that part right there when the dude that was like hold down and strapped down with all that stuff on him, and he was just start yelling out his name. He was like, gotcha, I'll give you some attention, and then just kills him right then and there. That was fucking terrifying, bro. My heart was beating. Boom, 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 boom type of stuff. Like my shit was going off after seeing that, bro. It was crazy. It was crazy to see. Um, and then his the way he looks all like skeleton like, but you can see the muscles on him. Like he looks like really strong, but at the same time very malnourished. And I like that. I like how like you can see the muscles, but how malnourished he was. It was really a unique uh character design on him, in my opinion. Um, Especially his little mask he has on as well. And then the little like he like what's it called, like tubes or stuff going around his arms and stuff. That was really cool. Then he had the little black uh thing in front of his legs and stuff like that. That was the little apron thing. Yeah, it didn't cover his ass though. You can definitely get the ass cheeks. Like you seen his booty, and it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't all that. He does not have the big booty. All right, so like let's keep on going.
for me was when Traeger was introduced. Up until then, Miles had been running away from Chris. In the midst of all that running, he heard a friendly voice helping him escape. This voice did not sound crazy, so of course, Miles took that help. What happens after that? He is in the hands of Richard Traeger, the crazed doctor who wants to use Miles for an experiment. So how did Traeger end up in the Mount Massive Asylum? Good question. Traeger was actually an executive of the Murkoff Corporation research research development at Mount Massive Asylum. Then, he became an experimenting surgeon, which Jeremy Blair, the Murkoff executive, did not mind. Out of nowhere, the information about the asylum was leaked. So, of course, investigators were called. When they met Traeger, they noticed right away that he was doing too much to ensure everything in his department was fine. So, the female investigator, Pauline, decided to bait Traeger. She offered to meet him for dinner at his place, and Traeger accepted. During this dinner, Pauline realized that Traeger had spiked her scotch with Rohypnol, i.e., a date rape drug. Despite being dizzy, Pauline pulled a gun on Traeger and made him drink the scotch. Traeger passed out, and on searching, Pauline found the pamphlet of an abortion clinic in his house. Soon enough, Pauline and her partner, Paul, figure out the true nature of this man. He assaulted one of the women on his team and threatened her to get an abortion by holding her job over her head. Out of desperation, the woman leaked information, hoping that would lead to Traeger getting fired. Paul and Pauline got the woman a severance package and bought her silence. Later, when the woman showed up at Blair's office to get her security clearance cleared, Traeger attacked her with a pair of scissors, stabbing her multiple times in the stomach. Pauline and Paul immediately jumped into action, and while tackling Traeger, his long hair got caught in a paper shredder and scalped him brutally. Even though Blair was Traeger's friend, he personally oversaw Traeger being put into the morphogenic engine. Armed with a pair of shears, Traeger straps Miles to a chair and cuts off 2 of his fingers, leaving both us and Miles pretty shocked. Richard Traeger is the living example of how there is no friend in hell, and the players have to figure out how to escape Traeger's domain before he manages to slice them up even more. Eventually, Traeger is turned into Traeger juice when Miles gets into the elevator, and Traeger tries to climb in, only to end up getting pulled headfirst in between the platforms, crushing him completely.
Yeah, that part was really crazy to see as well. Um, but like the whole chasing and everything was so terrifying. Going through it myself, and all the whatever the people that he had strapped down and he was doing work on. Some of them did come back and then start screaming, and then he comes after you because they start screaming. And I got so upset about that. I was like, damn, we get my location away type stuff, and I have to go into the vents. At one point, I just camped in the vents for a while because how scared I was, and yeah, it was really fun. I loved it. I loved it. The game's really good. All right, let's continue.
Marta. Look, we have all thirsted over Lady Demitresk. Who doesn't want a tall, murderous woman to chase them? I do, but that is
Yeah,
only when it comes to the Resident Evil franchise. As far as Outlast is concerned, the only tall woman on a murder spree is Marta, and I sure don't want her after me. Dressed in dark robes and wielding a huge pickaxe, Marta is the most feared member of the Testament of the New Ezekiel that we are introduced to in Outlast 2.
she is so traumatizing. The ways that she kills you is so crazy. I mean it. Like the way that she gets you and like kills you is so crazy. It's so like it's insane. And then the way that she dies as well in the game is crazy as well. Like she gets um pierced through by a cross, and it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Her character is pretty cool. I like her character. The things she say is pretty spot on to her character. I like it. Um, and I like her character. I think it's pretty cool. Um, especially her weapon choice as well is pretty cool with her character and her height. And yeah, I really like it because like it got me really scared. And you said I was like when I was playing the game, I was hiding. I was scared to get out of my hiding spot. Like like it was really good because like she made me really scared to get out of my hiding spot, and that's what you want. You want a person to be really scared to even leave their hiding spot type stuff. And yeah, and sometimes she just grabs me out of it, and my heart was pumping, and it's really good. I like it a lot.
Sullivan Noth, the founder of this testament, molded Marta into a murderer by claiming she would be a sinner if she did not kill the people who could hurt the community. Her undying devotion to Noth turned her into a huntress over time. Set in Temple Gate, which looks like a village surrounded by forests, Marta's first appearance is always iconic and absolutely spine-chilling. No matter how hard Blake tries to evade her, no matter how fast he runs, Marta is always 2 steps behind him, waiting to pounce on him. Maybe Marta graduated from the Michael Myers school of walking behind running characters and still catching up to them. The entire game, Marta is a huge nuisance. Every time you hear mutterings of the gospel, you know it is time to start running away, because here's Marta coming to get you. Despite her terrifying screen presence, I have a pet peeve about Marta. In Outlast 1, all the villains we face off against die in a way that feels satisfying. Chris Walker getting ripped open by the Wall Rider, or Traeger getting smushed. Both deaths are so iconic and memorable. Miles does not actively cause death, but it happens because of his actions or just bad timing on the villain's part. But when it comes to Marta, her death just does not feel satisfactory. I mean, yes, it is.
Yeah, she gets pierced, like I said, she gets pierced through by a cross. I think it's a cross at least. Let me see.
Is ironic that she dies getting impaled by the metal cross, but it just feels a lot like divine intervention. I just feel like Marta should have gotten an iconic death like Walker, you know? But you and I, we both know that if I were truly in Blake's place, I would have been happy as a clam seeing Marta get impaled the way she did. Frank Manera. In Outlast 1, we had Chris Walker. In Outlast 2, we got Frank Manera. The first time we come across Manera, he is happily working in the kitchen, slicing and dicing. What, you thought he was cooking vegetables? Oh, no. He is, in fact, cooking a Murkoff employee. He wields a buzzsaw and just loves eating all his victims. Looking into his files, we get to learn that Frank Antonio Manera, born in 1976, was admitted to the asylum when he was 36 years old. Ever since his arrival at the asylum, Manera started losing a lot of weight. He simply would not eat. He refused any food and water and even stopped grooming himself, but no one knew why. This kept happening for 2 years, up until 2012 when Frank actually came clean. No, he did not come clean out of his own volition. He was taken to the morphogenic engine, and his dark secret was kinda ripped out of him. After his experience with the morphogenic engine, Frank became one of the most dangerous variants in the Mount Massive Asylum. He often attacked other variants, regardless of their strength, and if they were defeated, Frank would gladly make a meal out of his victims. It was said that Frank also liked drinking the blood of his victims directly from their chests. Talking about drinking the forbidden Kool-Aid, in Whistleblower, when Waylon meets Frank, Manera has...
This scene is insane, by the way. This is an insane scene. It's crazy. And like, bruh, it's just like going through this area, turning around, and then hearing that boom. And seeing him microwaving someone's head is insane. It's an insane way to find a someone and then just cutting open and then eating the person. It's wild. It's wild. It's beautiful. It's a wild because how a great horror game. 100%, 1000%.
already killed a bunch of guards and is chomping down on a doctor. He obviously figures out there is fresh meat around, that is, Waylon himself. So off he goes, chasing Waylon down with a circular saw. He did manage to get Waylon at one point, and that was enough to fill me with fear. But then he decides to barbecue Waylon in the furnace instead, which gives him the opportunity to run away from Manera. While we do not see Manera again, I'm pretty sure he survived when the contractors stormed in to contain the situation. Manera was locked in the recreation block, which was isolated from the main building, so I would not be surprised if we see him once again when we return to Mount Massive. Laird
Oh
Byron.
yeah,
Laird
that makes
Byron is
sense.
another villain we come across when Blake is looking for Lynn at Temple Gate. He, just like Marta, is a part of the Testament of the New Ezekiel. However, he is a dwarf and at some point had to get his legs amputated because of some unforeseen circumstances which rendered him unable to walk. To make up for that, we see him riding on the shoulder of his trusted servant, Nick Tremblay. You could say that Laird is the brains while Nick is the muscles of this duo. Laird is the leader of the Scald, the twisted and sick part of the Testament. His main job is to keep the deformed part of the group out of Noth's territory, which is the Templegate village. He is a devout follower of Noth and seems completely willing to lay down his life for Noth's twisted goals. In return, Noth keeps correspondence with Laird via letters and sometimes sends him and his followers some food. Laird goes after Blake as he
Yeah.
believes Blake is the new Messiah once the latter escapes from Temple Gate. He and Nick crucify Blake at one point, hoping to help him ascend. Then, after Blake had suffered the same fate as Jesus, they would bury the corpse and eventually unearth it, only to eat it. Laird was willing to do all of that because they believed by eating the Messiah's flesh, they would be able to heal their deformities. However, Blake was not about to become the Messiah and made a run for it, but he
1000%. I'll be out of there, Bucko. What you mean you gonna bury me and uh unbury me and then eat me? Like what? Excuse me? You're funny. Get my ass out of there. Get my out of there. Get my ass out of there. But nah, them or like they are very. I think it's a unique character too. Like in the world that they are, they're pretty unique because they're together, and then one is melee, and the other one is like shooting arrows at you and stuff. So like that, like I said when we started, um, he's very annoying with the arrows stuff, but like it's good because like it's like a good annoying type stuff. Um, and like they didn't really scare me as much as some other characters did, but um, going against them was really nerve wracking and stuff. I was hiding and stuff like that. I was hiding, and it was really nerve wracking going against them, but it wasn't as bad as some other characters that I went against. But let's continue.
got caught again, and this time Laird buried him in a coffin. While this sequence is pretty exciting from a gamer's perspective, when Blake escapes the coffin, we find out that Laird buried us under an inch and a half of dirt. Brushing off that disappointment and dirt, Blake makes a run for it again when Laird spots him. Laird first assumes that Blake has gone through the resurrection, but when reality sinks in, he attacks Blake with arrows. He tries to send his men, the Scald, after Blake, but given his abusive treatment towards his men, two of them betray him instead. They push Laird and Nick, who fall onto a wooden dock, dying pretty brutally. Father Loudermilch. Father Loudermilch, introduced in the second Outlast game, may not be one of those variants that were experimented on, but that does not make him any less of a monster. In fact, I would go out on a limb and say that he is one of the most vile villains of the series. We meet
1000%. This man is disgusting. Needs to be again sent to the depths of the spear, the depths of the spear. 1000%. Because this story of it's insane. It's insane. It's horrible. It's insane. But he is a good villain. I will say that. Like in writing stuff. Like he's disgusting like a villain should be, and you know. But like I'm not gonna lie to you. This story had me. It's like what the fuck, bruh. The story had me like, wow, this is insane stuff. But it's a good horror game. It's a good horror game, but the story had me, wow. It's like, whoa, type stuff.
Father Loudermilch in the school section of the Outlast 2 game, set before the events of the two games. Throughout the gameplay, we see Blake having flashbacks to his school days. Father Loudermilch was the music teacher at St. Sybil High School. Whenever we see him, he is seen talking to Blake, sometimes singing and even laughing and taunting Blake. In his school hallucinations, we see Blake envisioning Father Loudermilch as this demonic entity with what seems to be a sentient tongue which keeps grabbing at him. On the surface, it seems like the father was this calm, well-spoken man of God. But as we go through the notes we find, we realize he was worse than the devil himself. He abused his power to paint Jessica Gray, Blake's friend, to come off as a problematic child. To prove his friend's innocence, Blake brought a camcorder to school hoping to get evidence. In these twisted recordings, we find out that Father Loudermilch is one of those people who just love children way too much. And all of this love he had was directed towards Jessica. He had become obsessed with Jessica, and it is clear that he had been trying to woo the child for a while. He caught Blake and Jessica in school and used his authority to scare Blake away. Even though Blake knew something was wrong, he left, and later he heard Jessica's screams, which led to him finding her corpse at the staircase. It was claimed that Jessica hung herself in one of the classrooms, which we now know was a big fat lie. It is heavily implied that Father Loudermilch scared Blake into covering up the crime, which affected him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Sullivan Noth introduced
Yeah, yeah. It was a horrible, horrible thing that girl had to go through. But it was a good character, good villain character. That man needs to be um sent to the depths of despair, like I said. But
in Outlast 2, Sullivan Knoth is the crazy mastermind who created the Testament of the New Ezekiel, which is a cult of Christian fanatics. Born in 1933, Knoth actually grew up to be a shoe salesman in Albuquerque, New Mexico. However, he was burdened with a bunch of debts and was about to lose his home. With no other choice, he started listening to an evangelical radio station, hoping that would bring him some comfort. While he did not find any comfort there, Knoth soon started hearing a different voice from the radio, claiming to be God. This God told Knoth to change the religious, spiritual condition of the earth with a new prophet. Sullivan believed himself to be this chosen prophet, and soon after, he had a vision of a terrible creature. He was told that the apocalypse was near, and it was his job to lead a group of chosen few into paradise. This became Sullivan's new calling, and he started preaching to the people of Albuquerque. As religious fanaticism usually goes, he soon had a bunch of fanatically dedicated followers, and with them, he formed the Testament of the New Ezekiel. Eventually, Knoth was given a vision of the village of the Temple Gate after he cut out his left eye for God. Seeing the vision, Knoth took his men and went deep into the wilderness of Arizona and named the settlement Temple Gate, founded in 1971, 5 years after Knoth started listening to the radio. Like most cult leaders, Knoth is able to command his men in an almost hypnotic way, forcing them to do whatever he wishes, even if it means doing the most vile thing on the planet. He constantly abuses his powers over his followers for his agenda. He also forces the women in his cult to get pregnant as frequently as possible so that he could kill the children and prevent the end of days.
oh yeah, yeah, that was the whole thing. Him just kept on going and going and going, and then it's crazy because like I don't even think yeah he doesn't chase you all. He always sends other people to do it. Um, but I think the only time we really sit down and talk to him is at the end, right here. This part right here is when we actually sit down and talk to him. Like we do listen to him, um, while he has our wife, uh, captured and stuff. Um, but but I think yeah, the only time we actually do talk to him or at least listen to him is when he's at the end and he's over. He's ready to give up his life for his cause and stuff, or wherever he's doing right here.
He truly believes, deep down, that whatever he is doing is for the best. As we soon find out, Sullivan kidnapped Blake's wife, Lynn, assuming she is the one who has the Antichrist that would bring the end of days. Lynn does give birth to her baby, but she passes away from the blood loss. Blake lost his consciousness after his wife died in his arms. When he woke up, he found Sullivan Noth next to him. In fact, Noth tried to manipulate Blake into killing his child. When that did not work, Noth ended up slicing his own throat almost in a trance. We see him shocked at what he had done and trying to stop the bleeding, but it was too late and Sullivan died. In the Murkoff account, we find out that all of the people at Temple Gate, including Noth, were manipulated by the excellent transmission of the morphogenic engine. So in a way, Outlast 2 is based on 5G tower-induced delusions. Certainly not the most horrifying ordeal I have heard about. Leland Coyle. One of the more recent games of the Outlast series is the Outlast Trials, and this is where we are introduced.
He is funny as, bro. I love him. He's funny. He's funny and a unique character in the thing as well. And I like it. I like it. He's like this cop guy that likes justice, but his justice is the only justice type stuff. But he has some funny as phrases or like his lines and stuff. You know, really funny.
To Leland Coyle. He is a corrupt police officer who really wants to punish the undesirable or the helpless people. The Murkoff Corporation obviously decided that he would be the perfect fit for their organization, and sure enough, he joined their company as one of the prime assets. Coyle loves electrocuting and assaulting his test subjects with his baton, which is just so sadistic. He is completely psychotic, and we often see him speaking in a weird Wild West jargon. His depravity knows no bounds, and both male and female reagents are a part of his victim list. If you don't know who the reagents are, they are poor people who volunteer to be subjects of Murkoff correction in exchange for money during the Cold War. To be honest, Leland just sounds a lot like Brother Love. Even though Leland is actually an ex-Marine, he upholds none of that pride. He has always been a villainous man, and in Outlast Trials, that shines brighter than a diamond. His past also reveals his tie-ups with racist organizations, something I saw coming from a mile away. As a player, if you ever come across Leland Coyle, the best thing you can do is run as fast as you can, because unless you lose him, Coyle is going to get you, and that's pretty much worse than death. Honorable mentions. While we decided to expand upon these 10 villains from Outlast, that does not mean we don't have more villains in the series. We have Skinner Man, the relentless pursuer of the reagents who loves draining his victims' vitality with an AO.
Bro, when you open up doors, this man just comes out of nowhere. That gets me. I literally have live streams of this me getting jump scared about him about this one. The Skinnerian or whatever his name is, I forgot already. And like, bro, I literally be opening up a door and he'd be like, boom, right there. I'd be like, oh, what the fuck? And that should be having me laughing afterwards, cause like, wow, that really just got me.
AoE aura that would affect everyone around it. We have Jeremy Blair, the disgustingly immoral person who runs all of these experiments under Murkoff Corporation. He is willing to play as dirty as it can get if it means he can keep all the company's secrets hidden. He is a vile human being for treating other human lives like cattle. We also have the Pouncer, Dennis, Mother Gooseberry, Night Hunter, Val, and many more. It is clear that the writers genuinely enjoy.
I did not know this is what he actually looked like. Crazy.
Enjoyed creating these villains, and the sheer amount of thought having been put behind each character. If you guys would like a part 2 of this video discussing the other villains in detail, let us know down in the comments. Marvelous verdict. The Outlast series is an extremely memorable ride. It has a way of getting under your skin in ways no other game can. Each villain of this series is carefully crafted, almost showcasing the most vile sides of every man's psyche. And as a horror fan, this is truly amazing. The psychological horror portrayed through each villain of this series makes you wonder how a human could ever be capable of doing these things without feeling any guilt. With such unforgettable villains, Outlast is a game that has made its mark in the horror genre. And with how actively Red Barrels is working to pump more games out, I'm curious to see how the Outlast lore gets expanded. Let us know in the comments which villains you would like us to cover next. Until next time, stay safe out there and don't run out of batteries.
Hey, I appreciate you watching this with me. Much love to all y'all. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the sub button, and comment down below if you have any characters you want to see get put in one of these videos, and anything you want to talk about in the comments yourself. Other than that, I appreciate you watching this with me. Peace out. God bless.